What is up, Square Nation? Welcome back to No Counters, No Combos, and today we're coming at you from the mobile command center to talk some tech. Now, I'm not sure if you guys have been, following the channel since I've been back, but when we came across getting set 11 released, the deck I was most excited for playing was the skillless Gohan Icarus deck. Now, I have been throwing my head against the wall recently in the lab to try and find the best build to make the deck work in both best of 1 and best of 3 situations. It is a little tough playing that deck because it's not as good in the later game. It's not much of a top end, but the Draft Box 6 does give it a lot of cards to help support the archetype and make it a little more efficient moving forward. So I've been playtesting a lot of yellow, and I can honestly say that this one card that we're going to be talking about today has put in a lot of work recently. So we're talking about Super Ice Ray. So Super Ice Ray is a 1-drop yellow extra card from set 11 that we got here with this new set. And basically it's a counter play. If your leader is mono yellow and your opponent is attempting to play a battle card, or not battle card, if your opponent is attempting to play a card that's cost 4 or less, it's played in rest mode. Now, the reason this card, in my opinion, is really good because it interacts with unisons, okay? Obviously, it's very similar to Crusher Ball. Crusher Ball does not have an energy restriction as to what card it can play in rest mode, but it's battle card specific on Crusher Ball. Super Ice Ray can target unisons, and to my knowledge, there is no unison with barrier or deflect or anything like that. So if your opponent's going to tap 4 energy, or if your opponent is going to tap 4 or less to play their unison, and their unison is a detrimental part of their strategy, you can go ahead and play it in rest mode. That's 1 attack less that you have to worry about. Granted, still going to be getting its markers, still going to be doing its things, but it's 1 less thing that you have to worry about when it comes to an attack. So off the top of my head, the Dark Broly unison is double strike. The Majin Vegeta can get pretty interesting. The Janemba has critical. So there are a couple of unisons that can threaten for offensive pressure in the game, and having a card that can directly interact with them is pretty huge in my opinion. So I've been testing this card in Gohan. I started with 4. Right now I'm sitting at like 2 or 3, and I'm just trying to find that really nice ratio on how many of this I want to play. In testing the games that I've played, I usually only get to resolve like 1 of these a game. So it might be one of those things where you cut it down to 2 because Gohan does draw a lot of cards, so I'll be able to see it. So I'm just kind of trying to see where that fits in as far as defensive options is concerned. Yellow is kind of lackluster right now in the format. It did not get a lot of support in set 11 outside of the Sin Shenron archetype, which is probably the best yellow archetype in the game right now. There's just not a lot of volatility. It's very hard to play the Broly matchup because Broly goes wide with the red deck and then goes tall with Dark Broly. So there's a lot of different things you have to worry about. If you're not Sin Shenron, even the set 10 Gotenks leader, I think is a really good generic yellow leader, especially with an untapped 2 awaken skill. So I think that you can kind of make the argument that yellow is a more defensive / disruptive color. You're gonna want to be able to have answers to your opponent's plays, not like defensively or like counterattacks or combos or anything like that, but you're going to want to try to disrupt their effects of playing battle cards successfully. Dragon Ball Super is a card game that has no summoning sickness. Pretty much as soon as you play a battle card or as soon as you play an offensive threat, you can go ahead and start attacking. So by slowing your opponent down and making them, have to play an extra turn, sometimes that's all you really need. So I like Super Ice Ray because I can not only interact with my opponent's battle cards, but I can also interact with my opponent's unisons. Now, granted, there's no real efficient way of getting markers off of unisons right now in the game, unless you're just going to throw attacks at it. But as more and more sets start to come out with the unison mechanic already being, a mainstay in the Dragon Ball Super card game, I'm pretty positive that we're going to get more and more unison interaction. Obviously, it's not a very sought after card in set 11, but there is a 3-drop red SR Bardock that we got in set 11 that when he's played, you can add 3 markers to your unison card. So cards like that do exist. They're just not as game breaking as we need them to be, and they don't really do as much as we need them to in its current state. But obviously we still have sets 12 and 13 that are going to be part of the Unison Warrior block, so there's a lot of room for interactions down the pipeline. But for now, I mean, if you're having trouble and you're a yellow player and you're looking for that defensive option that can have multiple targets or you know, kind of help you, you know, survive or get an extra turn, I would definitely give Super Ice Ray a chance. It's a common or an uncommon out of set 11, so it's probably super easy to get your hands on, and it's only 1 yellow energy, so it's not that bad of a card. I mean, for skillless Gohan specifically, you're usually after turns 2 and 3, you're not really tapping out too much, so you do have energy to play defensively if you need to, which is why I like the deck, because you can put a lot of pressure and you can advance your board state without committing too much resources to it. So being able to have defensive options in a deck like that, I think, is really crucial. And if you're playing another yellow strategy that kind of does the same thing, where you're not committing so much energy to your board state past, you know, turns 2 and 3, you might have a better chance surviving if you have more defensive options. I mean, if you're tapping out early to play your board state, that's part of progression through the game. But if you've established and you've recovered from your opponent's attacks or whatnot, and you have just random energy left up to use, why not utilize it on a defensive, strategy, as opposed to just throwing energy randomly and maybe not in the most efficient way. So by all means, I don't think Super Ice Ray is the most broken card. It definitely has, you know, different applications that you can, you know, weave your way in and out of. I definitely think that yellow right now on the defensive side of the game is probably the weakest. I mean, Nimbus is a pretty decent negate. It's just not as good as it used to be. Time Magic is a sparking negate, so it's always going to have some applications in the game. But other than that, you know, you can make the argument for Restraint being a drop counter for Invoker. But there's just not a lot. I mean, Release from Evil is a really good yellow card, in my opinion, but it's just for the trade-off that you get in like red and green with like Dormant Potential Unleash and Violent Rays, yellow is just not there right now. So maybe we'll get more support in later sets. Maybe they'll start coming out with more yellow defensive options, but you know, we're just gonna have to wait and see. So let me know what you guys think about Super Ice Ray in the comment section down below. Have you been testing it? Has it crossed your mind, but you're just not sure if it's worth it? You know, I think you guys should give it a try. I mean, we do have a lot of avenues of playing the game right now with webcams and Untap and Octagon and stuff like that. It doesn't hurt to test something online before you actually commit to maining it in your actual, you know, 50 card or 60 card deck. But I think it can be useful in the right situations, and if you're not maxing out on it, it's not going to be a dead draw, and you're going to only really use it when you really need to. So I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Before we get on out of here, do not forget that the Computer and Gaming Universe 1K event in New Jersey is still happening this weekend. We are capping the event at 32 players. So if you guys haven't already, please go online and pre-register. I'll leave all of the information in the link I'll leave all the links to all the information in the description box down below. We're expecting a pretty good turnout. It's going to be best of 3 60-minute rounds. We're obviously going to be streaming the event, we just hope that we see you guys there so we can have a good turnout and play some Dragon Ball Super in real life. So we're going to get on out of here. Don't forget to like, share, comment, subscribe, and we'll see you guys in the next video. Be there or be squared.